Today I am master of the ceremonies, an event that we are holding with partnership with Accolade. And without further ado, let me ask Mrs. Nakisha Morris to lead us in a word of prayer as we stand and begin.
Heavenly Father, we are indeed grateful that you have given us the opportunity again to see another day. We thank you for your blessings on our lives today, and even as we will be showcasing to this nation, to the Caribbean, oh God, what will be happening, oh God, with this accolade event. Lord, we ask your blessing upon today's proceedings. We ask your blessing upon the event, Father. We ask your blessing, oh God, upon the performers. I pray even now, oh God, that your will be done in all these things, and that you will cause the name of St. Vincent and Grenadines, you will cause the name of the Caribbean countries, oh God, that we're on one to, that they will be proclaimed in the world, God, that through these things, Father, people will know that there is a Caribbean out there. So Lord, we thank you for your blessings upon us even now, God, and we ask that you will just continue to cover us and keep us in Jesus' name. Amen.
There's a wonderful listing of persons here, and at the head table I have with me Mr. Felix Lewis, CEO of Center for Enterprise Development. I have Mr. Frankie McIntosh, our honorary, and I'm excited to be in such great company. I have with me Mr. Arden Chanis, CEO of Accolade, and Ms. Okola John Patrick, Director of Trade. The list, did I miss it? No, I have it. What do you write? That's the head table. But the list is of there are some other representatives here that I feel the need to point out as well. Men and women making great contribution. Anthony Theobald, right? Anthony Tibbles, Ministry of Culture. Joselle John of RIDU. Dunstan Johnson, Project Manager of BNTF. Guy Young of our own SVG AMP. Bernard Joseph, Director of Accolade. Representative of the media, representative from Invest SVG. Once again, thank you all for being here, and I will begin the proceedings, start the proceedings again by offering some opening remarks, telling you a little bit about St. Vincent and Grenadines Coalition of Services Industries, what it is about. It is an umbrella body for services, galvanizing services in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, services, and provide a platform where we can integrate and take advantage of opportunities available, trade agreements that have been made between countries, include that is St. Vincent and other countries, bilateral and others, where we could show, by relating, we can show the benefits to have or to be gained by working in services. So now that we have done that, what now? Well, services have been identified as one of the areas that is growing economies in this region of ours. And there are some services that are well defined, although they need improving. You're talking about services in the construction sector, services, they tend to be more professional, services in the legal fraternity, services in the medical industry, and services in creative arts. The other services that don't seem to be so well put together, which is what we're working with, is what I think of when I think about skill services, the hairdressing, even in the wellness services, exercise and eating well, that sort of services, spa services, well, hairdressing they refer to as cosmetology and those kind of services. Even the taxi services, they have some organization there, but we still need to improve that kind of service. Technician services, there's our education. So our education system has focused somewhat, or directed its focus somewhat away from technology in recent time, in my view, and we should start to go back to technology and mathematics, seeing that technology now is an integral part of many of the services being provided, and the heart of the beast, so to speak, in my own view, and what I've seen coming out in discussion with services is related to the technicians, and the technicians providing repair services and so on and so forth. And we have a lot of weaknesses there. So repair for cell phones, repair even your motor vehicle today. The quality of the service that you get in terms of what is repaired. I recently had an experience where I was looking for an elderly care provider, and it was really a struggle. And even when you get that elderly care provider, what are the standards for the service? What are they expected to do? How they are expected to report? And the quality of care that they are expected to provide? All these things need fine-tuning and so on. In addition to that, if I may add, when you look at some services, say the accounting services, the ones that look professional and have some defined lines, have code of ethics, so on and so forth, and to some extent in the music industry, although I'm learning that the music industry have some issues, have many issues as well, they know how to charge. The designer knows how to charge. He knows how to differentiate different parts of his services. He knows how to aggregate it, basically in some. So he is in a position, and the accountant and the lawyer, they are in a position where they are ready to trade. The other services, they don't quite know how to charge. They're not sure when they're doing trade. For example, a taxi service may, when he picks up a foreigner, he is actually doing trade, and he may not realize that he is doing trading services. And so CSI is providing the platform to have that sort of discussion so that you understand the different modes of, which I believe are 4 modes of trade in services, and put in services, people in services at a position where they can export. So what next? Well, we are happy to partner with Accolade and the work that Accolade is doing, and this particular exercise in which they are going to honor giants in the Vincentian music industry. We have had an exercise like this last year. They are doing it this year. The region have learned of it because the regional CSI group are saying that they like what Accolade is doing, and they would wish for Accolade to come to Grenada, come to St. Lucia, and give them pointers. No point in reinventing the wheel, because this has the potential of going further than the region. And it's we are proud to be associated with it. We have had training sessions where we talk about export readiness, how persons in services can export their work and broaden their market. And we, as a next step, we find it necessary to have that program run again, because it was well received and people, they see the opportunities, they see the job opportunities that it can create. And of course, services it's big, it's huge. and I don't want to sound like Trump, but yeah. So that's where we want to go. So we're going to continue to work with the creative arts, continue to work with all of the service sectors, get them organized, the standards of service that they need to provide. The professional area have their standards, have their code of ethics. Where there are no standards, we need to have those, and so that we can trade and do business across the region and internationally. And we believe, of course, that we can provide, or we have seen, where we can provide service that is of international standard and value. We just need to monetize this and get the gains that we get the exercise to get gains. So with that, I would now invite Mr. Felix Lewis, CEO of CED, to give some remarks.
I'm going to follow the protocol that has been established. Right. Could move smoothly today. First of all, for those who might not have heard about CD, CD is the Center for Enterprise Development. It was established in 2005, following up on a project, temporary project that was implemented, funded by the European Union, called the Small Enterprise Development Unit. When that project concluded, it was recognized that there was need to continue to give support to entrepreneurs and potential business operators beyond the project period. And they needed to find a permanent solution to have that institutional support put in place. So that's how CD was actually born. Now, around 2007, CD won a bid to implement a private sector development project in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This project was far-reaching, wide-ranging, but there was a component of that project that focused on what we call the cultural and creative industry sector. And for the first time under that project, a policy document was developed, policy and strategy document. So basically, moving beyond the hobby type activity that we have in the sector to a commercial activity that could provide a livelihood for individuals involved in the sector. And not just music. We're looking at fashion, at craft, at arts, visual arts, you know, the entire spectrum of the cultural and creative industry sector. Government thought that this particular sector have a lot of potential in providing and contributing to the national economy, and also contributing to livelihoods for individuals who are involved in the sector. So that was part of the impetus that was behind developing this policy and strategy document, which was the first. It was actually only the second Caribbean country to actually focus like this on the cultural and creative industry sector at the time. Now, I think that subsequently another update was done on the policy document. I'm not too familiar with it. I can't remember seeing a copy of that. But I know we were associated with the initial document and the first time actually providing that type of policy focus on the cultural and creative industry sector. So that's what we have many challenges in this sector. One of the big challenges is the scale. St. Vincent local market is extremely small by any measure. And basically the real opportunity lies in exporting the services under the cultural and creative industry sector. So you have to go beyond St. Vincent's shores. That's a given. So that's an important part of that strategy is how do we develop the necessary platforms to develop the capacity of the local practitioners in a way that they could make a meaningful impact or really take advantage of opportunities available to them regionally and internationally. And these types of background work is part of that process of building that platform. And when you look at Accolade and what Accolade is trying to do, sorry, it is essentially trying to build other components of that platform to provide you the opportunity and a mechanism for moving from St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the global marketplace. And that's for that reason, CD has been involved from a very early stage in supporting this enterprise, because we feel that it displays a level of creativity in order to find solutions to the challenges that we face, to get a platform for our artists to move beyond St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the international arena. I spoke earlier about the issue of scale. And one of the solutions to the issue of scale is like what AMP is doing, coming together as a group. But this is particularly in the music sector. But we are looking to go beyond that, to provide a platform under a rubric which we labeled as a cultural and creative industry cluster. And the cluster is intended to be a value chain cluster and would not be limited only to music. Because as you know, and for people who are in the sector, there is a link between the different art forms that are available. People who are doing performances want to have dancers. The dancers have to have costumes. You have to have lighting. You know, all these kind of things. You might want to do a music video. So you can't confine a lot of these things to just the driver of the industry. There's a lot of other things that needed to support that industry moving forward. And we feel that the mechanism of the cluster would provide a very good opportunity to organize the sector as an industry and to make sure that we build the capacity within that sector to help them develop themselves and to help to pull the synergies that you could get from that type of collaboration. So that's something that we're hoping to focus on. As a result of that, last year the CD applied and was successful in getting a grant from the Compete Caribbean funded by IDB to see how we could do this. Not just for this sector, because we're focusing on the agribusiness sector and the cultural and creative industry sector. So it's two separate clusters we're looking at. So the cultural and creative industry sector would be on board. Now that project has started. We're at the stage where the consultants for implementation are being identified, and we are hoping as early as January to actually start implementation. Now, after this intervention, an opportunity would be provided for both clusters to put a bid in, and this would be a competitive bidding process with projects that are coming out of the 10 CARICOM countries. This opportunity would be to win finances of up to $250,000 to help with the development of the sector. So we put in the sector on notice, get your act together, get ready, so that we're in a position to put a very good proposal in, so that our St. Vincent and the Grenadines would be one of the countries that accessing this $250,000 for development. And as I said again, the activity is supposed to start in earnest in January 2019. So here's where we are with that. I just want to say in closing, I'm happy to be associated with the Accolade Initiative. I feel that it's going to go from good strength to strength. As you see, it's already getting interest from other countries in the region. And I think it provides, based on my view from inside, a real opportunity to provide a serious mechanism for moving cultural and creative industry sector, in particularly music industry, outside of St. Vincent and into the international marketplace. Thank you.
I'm going down the list as you have it. No particular priority. And as I look at the list, I'm thinking of something a lecturer said about the forest, the difference between the forest and the plantation. That the plantation needs, from the time you stop paying attention to the plantation, it sort of dies. But the forest has a self-sustaining system with all these different functioning parts that seems to thrive without nurturing, and it doesn't kill biodiversity. It doesn't kill diversity, period. It keeps the diversity, but it flourishes. So, and that is what I'm seeing here. The forest looks disorganized, but it's actually a system that is better than the organized system, seeming organized system of the plantation. So let me ask Mrs. Okolo John Patrick, Director of Trade, come and give a few remarks.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Call having been established, so I get straight into the presentation. I want to first thank the organizers for inviting the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Commerce to be a part of this event. We definitely welcome this opportunity, and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we recognize the importance of the cultural sector to the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In addition, we note that there has been global demand for Caribbean culture and creative goods and services worldwide. So Accolade is one step in the right direction, and it is expected to penetrate both regional and international markets. As was said from the various speakers, the previous speakers, we have seen interest in St. Lucia, we have seen interest in other Caribbean countries, and we know that it is going to get bigger and better. Now, we would have signed on to the EPA, which is the Paris Forum EU Economic Partnership Agreement in 2008. This is an agreement signed with CARIFORUM. CARIFORUM is CARICOM plus the Dominican Republic and the European Union. Now, this agreement, in part of the agreement, we have a cultural protocol, and we recognize that Accolade is one initiative that we can use to actually benefit from the cultural agreement. Now, what can you get from that cultural agreement? There are provisions where musicians, artists can actually travel to the EU for up to 90 days to perform and to have contracts so that they can actually go and do their performances there. There's an arrangement for capacity building, so where you may want training, or whether it is voice, vocal, or just to write music, we can actually have that negotiation with the Europeans. There is also parts where you can have partnership in terms of your production in the music industry, where the European will take 80% and they give the Caribbean country, the CARIFORUM, 20%. That's, you can have collaboration and partnership where you can have your music being heard on the European market. So I think this is an excellent opportunity. It's actually in the right direction for us to actually take advantage of that opportunity for the EPA. Also, on the regional level, we have free movements of goods and services. We can penetrate our own market at the regional level. We can penetrate where there are festivals, where there are carnivals, so we can actually take Accolade outside of the walls of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are looking forward to working with the promoters. We are looking forward to working with the cultural artists. And as said before, there is a coalition of service industry within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Commerce. We look at building the capacities of our service providers, organizing them into associations so that they can better take advantage of the opportunities for the trade agreement in which we would have signed up to. So I want to take this opportunity to express our appreciation to all the promoters and to wish the promoters and the presenters successful event coming this Saturday. Thank you.
Now, investments. I am promoting that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is one of the best places to invest. The investor will have a healthy lifestyle here in St. Vincent, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines can provide all the services that the investor needs, from professional to wellness services in the highest quality to make sure that they and their children live well. And I think everybody wants to live long, and St. Vincent, they live long in St. Vincent. So I would ask investors to make their remarks, and if they like, they could echo that. Right? No representatives from investors. Then moving right along, Mr. Anthony Tibbles, Cultural Officer, Ministry of Culture, make a few remarks.
Good morning, everybody. And thank everyone from the media for being with us. I have 5 very, very brief points. First of all, I want to indicate that the Department of Culture has been working for several years in the assistance to the development of the creative and cultural sector. We now have on board 2 special persons, staff focused specifically on the development of the creative and cultural industries. We have spent a number of months working with the organization AMP, the Association of Music Professionals, and we have guided them through 2 projects which have benefited the artists in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And now we are in a process of working with Accolade. The work with Accolade goes beyond a show. So there have been 2 shows very specifically presented, one that honored Judy Boucher last year, and one that will honor Frankie McIntosh this year. And I think people can easily say those are major giants in the music industry. Their impact has not only been in St. Vincent, but it has been worldwide, and they have worked with very significant musicians around the world. But we have to move beyond the show. It has already been alluded to, and we speak about the cluster, and we speak about export of services. I thank you for your attention.
I intended to go down the list of this, but I think it is right to get the head table first. So I want to sort of shift. When you realize that you're going wrong, it's all right if you shift. So I asked our honorary Giant in Music, Mr. Frankie McIntosh, to have his remarks. And also apologize.
Good day, everyone. Good morning.
First, let me say how impressed I am listening to the previous remarks about the systems and the mechanisms being put in place here in convention to promote the arts. You know, I am in the department of creating the product, but as the previous speaker says, it's necessary to go past that product. I'm here at home at the invitation of Mr. Adam Tanis and accolades. And regarding the show on the 6th of October, Saturday. Yes. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because there's so many names on the flyer of artists whom I've never met. Like Cy Bowman, I've seen him on a video. I mean, phenomenal player. Judy Bouter, I've met, I think I met in Canada briefly once. But other names, they're actually meeting them in person. It's what I look forward to doing on the show. There's a group called Teams. I ran into them at the gardens, at Botanical Gardens. Funny story, but I was there with the family. Of course, you know, in the gardens there are pastures and this little brook, a little river. And then I heard this angelic music. I started thinking, pinch myself. I didn't see any police in the gates of that gardens. So I went over and there was this string quartet. And they were doing an arrangement of our national anthem. The arrangement was done by Ruth and Lois, who's the leader of the group. And it was just remarkable. So I requested that they be in the show because it kind of shows the variety of talent that we have here in St. Vincent. Yes, as far as you know, what I do, what everyone knows, I'm a musician by profession, an arranger. And if you need information past that, just Google Franklin McIntosh and get it by him. So thank you.
And so, Accolade needed some heavy lifting to get the giant here. And so we look for Mr. Tanis to give us that assistance. Let me ask Mr. Tanis to come to the mic.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. I'm not a very strong person and definitely didn't take a lot of lifting to get Mr. McIntosh here. But protocol hasn't been established. It's important sometimes that we go to the root. The root comes out of the seed. And the seed of Accolade, and I normally tell it in a short story. My mother was a devoted Christian, very devoted and dedicated Christian. And as a youngster growing up, I really didn't think she was a good mother. We had more licks than food. That's true. And in those days, it would have been considered to be abuse. We go to church, and it's been insisted more in school as well. My mother died from cancer a couple of years ago. And, you know, while she was there, it was a lonely death. However, on her death, and you know, as I think back, but on her death, what we got from the church and her friends and families, it was amazing. What we heard, she was a strong woman, dedicated Christian, lovely. She used to sew and would take no money. She would give to the poor and to give her all these praise. Another thing about my mother, she loved flowers. She would go around and steal a little bit of flowers from here and there and chuck it, you know. Chuck it in the garden. She had a nice flowers garden. When she died, a lot of good things were said. How she was strong and everything else. When we went to the cemetery, there were the flowers. all scattered. Dead flowers. And I said, if only while she was sick, one member of the church had brought one hibiscus, she might have a better fasting. If only while she was sick, they brought baskets together and said, Mother was a good woman. Maybe. Might have been different. She's probably in heaven somewhere right now, picking flowers. Very good woman. But it's that experience that brought accolade into focus. By that time it was too late. I would say maybe I should have kissed her and hugged her and built a house for her. By the time I'm a grown man, when I realized who she really was. It shouldn't happen. It really, really shouldn't happen. So accolade was born out of that feelings to give people honor. Honor them while they're alive. Give honor when it is due. I love music. I'm not known in the music industry as anybody. I'm nobody in the music industry, but I believe musicians, of all the creative persons on earth, are God's representative on earth. They make life easier for every one of us. Without them, there'd be no carnival. If you had anything on the radio, what would church be without music? What would your life be? How do we treat these people? You know, we treat them like Christ. It is not an award show. It's about giving tribute where it is due. That is my piece. Thank you very much.
Yes, you'll forgive me again, but I have to put all these great gentlemen in one grouping. This being the month of independence. St. Vincent, my homeland. You gave me no mansion.
It's better than ever.
Once me head showing. No rush at me.
Okay. Really?
10 years of mass and music. Welcome the legend, Alston.
Protocol already established. I want to thank you all very much for the warm welcome. And I feel so honored to be in St. Vincent and the Grenadines at a time when we are doing something that is long overdue. Respect to one of the greatest human beings this world has ever seen. Not much I can say about his music. To me, he's one of the greatest musicians the world has ever seen. But to get to know Frankie McIntosh, how humble this guy really is. He's one of the great things that happened in my life. He helped to turn my life around. Made me a little more humble, a little less cocky. And just let the music do the talking, and I try to follow that, borrow that style from him. And I can't say enough to thank Arden Tanis for doing something like I said, should have been done a long time ago. And I'm so honored to be in this setting, and I look forward tremendously to Saturday night, 6th of October, a date I'll never forget. And all who hear this, make sure you're at Russell's Auditorium to pay tribute to one of the great human beings this world has ever seen, one of the greatest musicians God has blessed us with, and make sure you're there to take it. God bless you.
I'm keeping in line with the music, the creative art.
And so I would ask Mr. Gary Young, President of SBG Amp.
Blessed morning, everybody. Let me establish the crowd that has been set already. And as following Beckett and the great honoring himself, I have had the pleasure thus far of not even being in this man's presence for 24 hours. I feel as if the myth that was Frankie McIntosh for me as a little boy, as I said to him last night, I've never been in the same space with him, you know, and so when after last night, I go home and I YouTube and I see Beckett. This was in 1970 something, and we're in a time now as this modern world is evolving, and all the things that were seen as unsaid, things that should not have been said, or protocols of words, etc. So I type in on YouTube, marijuana, looking for a particular song, and then I see hi hi or too high, and Beckett in his introduction to the crowd, he asked the crowd, what's the name of the song? You know what I mean? And it took me back to a place where as a child I remember the majesty of Vincentian music. The mood that road march songs, Beckett included, and Frankie complimenting the instrumentation behind songs like that were, to me, way before their time. You know what I mean? And if now is the time, as Mr. Tanis and Mr. Joseph having the vision to take us to our roots, as he just plainly said, you know, and hearing him speak. I've not known Mr. Tanis that much. I've known Bernard for years, and Accolade and its entire mandate from starting Judy Boucher last year to now heading in this direction. It's an amazing event, and for SVG AMP and us being the umbrella organization for music in this country, it's an honor and a privilege to even be a part of this foundation, as I think a house without a foundation is nothing. So heading back and you know, I'll bring in some Rasta talk, back is death, as they used to say. So I like to say forward motion. So rather than saying in going back, let's move forward by recognizing our Vincentianness, recognizing that there's a Frankie McIntosh somewhere in the schools of St. Vincent sitting in the classroom. There's an Alston Beckett Cyrus somewhere in those schools who is dreaming about singing, you know, who's dreaming about providing for their family and showcasing Vincentian talent that has for years steered the world, in my opinion, musically, not just the region. You know, so as president of SVG AMP, we are honored, privileged with the vision that Accolade has, and anything they are involved in, we hope we can be a part of to help strengthen and instill, especially in our young people who may have never truly experienced that Vincentian majesticness that I like to call it. It's an amazing thing that you combine Frankie's amazing skills and I mean, I used to have this dream of a time machine. Like if somebody was to build a time machine, who or where in history would I go? So last night I'm thinking of, I would have loved to be peeping in a band room or something when Frankie and them were created. As a teenager, how was it for him growing up in St. Vincent with all the constraints that are now to this day still facing artists in the sectors, as most of our musicians still cannot do it full time. You know, and the seasonalities that surround that industry, which is a shame that we now, as SVG AMP, are heading in a direction, along with Accolade, the Ministry of Culture, who has been an amazing support structure for everything in the creative industry, that we need to find. Let's find the superstars, let's find the future giants, let's try and provide them. And the root of what Mr. Tanis just said, and that story of his mom, something resonated to me at the start of this year. As if we, as a nation, as parents, fathers, mothers, children, you know, brothers, sisters, deny our God-given talents. What are we really doing? You know, God bless Frankie McIntosh, Beckett, you know, others in this room with the talents that they have. So if right now we do not acknowledge or find a way to harness these skills, and by doing so, the ripple effect is magnanimous. So I am asking all Vincentians at home and abroad. So let's embrace our Vincentian artists, our Vincentianists, as I don't know who coined that, it's stuck in my head ever since I heard Chief Tibble say it, our Vincentianists. Right, so again, I would like to say Saturday is going to be an honor and a privilege to be at the Russell's Auditorium. So all Vincentians, far and abroad, come out, support, post something on Facebook. Let the world see how proud we are of the son of our soil. I thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. As the good gentleman just talked about skill and services, I remember a story this morning I heard on radio. A gentleman looking for a supervisor in services for a maritime company, and a woman who had 15 years in the funeral business showed up. Right? And just out of interest, he decided to add her to the short list. And he said that she went through the interview in flying colors, but he just had to ask the final question. And he said to her, he asked her, he said, what really made you think that you could be so good in this job? She said, whether you're dead or alive, you require good service. So. And working with services, all the thing that we are constantly training on. So service is a very, very high quality service is what is being demanded. And not just quality service, it looks like people also require unique services, if I can put it that way, that people are looking for special things, so you still have to tweak it a little bit, so you have to continue to train and provide what the market needs. So the hub of Accolade and making this event possible is none other than, well, everybody in the forest, like I've said, working in synergy, but is none other than Mr. Bernard Joseph, Director of Accolade, and I'd invite him to give a few remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be among the greats, as Beckett Cyrus. You know, once I had the nickname, briefly, Beckett. I was in Trinidad many years ago, 77, still in school and so on. So I had to talk about St. Vincent and the music. It was a workshop at the UWI in the summer. And yeah, I was once involved in the theater. So you had people in different aspects of the arts. And of course, I had to talk with somebody with international potential. And every day I was talking about Beckett, that became my name. Right? And of course, Frankie, we know, he has been doing great works. Frankie has done great, he has worked with the best in Calypso. We are talking about the Calypso King of the World, the Mighty Sparrow. Well, we have a great Beckett, and some of the persons he would have worked with in Trinidad, the late Duke, Thunder, a very amusing tune from probably from a man's perspective, but you have people like Explainer, a song that is still strong, Lorraine Don't Cry Leaving, that sort of thing. And Frankie doesn't admit it, but it's something that should be spoken about. The first Parang Soca was actually written by Frankie. There was no Parang Soca before.
Before Soca.
He arranged it.
Before Soca.
Right? First.
He didn't change the music. He didn't change the word, he changed the music.
This is Beckett. This is a master talking. Right? But it must be noted, because right now, Parang Soca, as it's called, is popular around the Christmas season. Frankie McIntosh did the first one, he arranged the first one. Give him a hand. accolade, as Mr. Tanner said, when he came to me with the idea, and I was going around in terms of representing the CSI in the creative industries, including Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the challenges is how do we take advantage of the cultural protocol, which was part of the EP agreement. And I know the Caribbean Export had something before, Design Caribbean, I think it was called, but mainly focused on the craft. And I remember attending this session and questioning the ED about who owned the rights and so on. And when Mr. Tannis told me about this concept of honoring and so on, I said, that can be expanded. This can be our export product for the Caribbean. And well, you have heard, I've been vindicated in terms of the interest that is being shown in this, this venture, not just locally, but regionally. And this is good for St. Vincent and Grenadines in terms of creating opportunities for people in the music industry. One of the things, I put it basically in a simple form. I say, look, once you explore those advantages, you will have musicians, creative people going to Europe, just as we have people going to work on the farm, in the farms in North America, meaning in Canada and the US, and on the ships and so on. We'll be producing more than that. You have thousands of people from the Caribbean taking advantage, traveling to Europe, providing services to that market. And we're talking about more than 20 countries. And of course, in those 20 countries, you have several markets. So basically, that's what I want to say. Most of the things I should have been like Anthony Tibbers, and he took a leaf out of his father's book. His father's a renowned broadcaster, one of the best, period. And by the way, Frankie, his name is also Claude. Frankie knows Claude. Right? And basically say, well, look, accolade is here, and we need the support of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe I have a strategy here, so I'm going straight to David Williams on stage. Is he not here? Not yet? All right. I was going to that because I want to see what the strategy was, my thinking. Because in my interaction, I've learned also that in the music industry here, one of the issues that they have is with managers, right? And further discussion made me realize that there are several levels of managers that you need for a performer. You need your on-the-road manager, you need your manager to deal with your contracts and your business, and you need stage management and all those sort of things to organize these things. And I'm hearing that it is the performer who tries to do all that business, and it doesn't work out well. And you know, you need to, that is one of the issues that we need to address in the music industry. Now, so I would ask the NTF basically to come and give a few remarks. What I would say before, well, what I would say before that is that I also learned that there are a number of small events that can be funded. Well, you probably the money man, right? That can be funded. that can be funded. I mean, when we talk about trade and EPA, what I think, and I think what other people think, is that you have to get into these big shows. And I learned that there are small Caribbean community events that takes place that could be handsome in terms of the rewards for artists and so on, and building them. So when they come to you with those seemingly little projects for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they're really so small. So yes, Mr.
Good morning, everyone. Protocol has been established. I am delighted
to have BNTF as part of Accolade, and I myself am also delighted to be part of an advisory group to the founders and directors of Accolade. Now, BNTF was established basically with the aim of reducing poverty, mainly in rural areas. It is funded currently mainly by the Caribbean Development Bank and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I've been there just 9 months. I've learned a lot. And there are sectors to which these monies are channeled, are expended. As in the case of what happened in the past and what will happen in the next cycle. The next cycle started in 2017 and will end in December 2020. A lot of the monies were expended on infrastructure, roads, footpaths, repairs and building of schools, which are very important. It goes along quite handily with the government's policies and CDB's policy. They would want to reduce poverty. But there's also a sector which is constantly funded, which is the human resource development sector, that is doing with education. And mainly the livelihoods of persons are taken into consideration here, where persons who have skills, who can be taught new skills, who can hone these skills to make a living. It's sad to say, from what has been done in the past by that entity that is the BNTF agency, and what I gather to understand now is that most of these are unsustainable. And I do believe the unsustainability has to do with the avenue for honing those skills or selling your skills, to say the least. If you're equipped as an artist, where you're taught to play a drum, but there's no activity in which you will be hired to play that drum, I guess you'll be playing that alone at home. So that's a problem. There's no sustainability in many of these human resource development activities. Up to recently, the start of BNTF 9, I can see my brother across the floor there. He came with a proposal. As the chairman said, yes, there are avenues for funding in the creative arts. But sad to say at this moment, the NTF 9, the 9th cycle has already been laid out and the funding has been programmed. That will end on December 31st, 2020. So we are looking ahead, which is where Accolade comes in. As Mr. Tanis said, a seed has been planted. So there is time. If Accolade is to blossom, then mushroom, what can be the potential for the creative industry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? As I said a while ago, the NTF aim is reduction of poverty, but mainly rural areas. In the rural areas, there are gamma of skills. There are a number of persons who have skills, but there is no avenue, as I said, in which to hone these skills. If Accolade is to blossom and move into Europe, not only will there be drummers and singers, but we're talking about mass men. Think of the potential. Think of the opportunities that could be accorded our people in the rural areas. The poor who need a push, who need a help to develop that skill and to sell that skill and to hone that skill. If accolade is to blossom, there is no limit to where many of these persons can be in the future. I just want to say a little more, because persons have been saying a lot about accolade, but I just want to say this, that the aim of accolade, as was said before, is to take St. Vincent the Grenadines, the creative artists, into Europe. But we cannot, that is accolade, cannot do it alone. It needs a collective effort, collaboration of mass men and calypsonians, dancers and drummers. It also needs the CSI, Chamber of Industry and Commerce in the private sector, public sector. We also need the Ministry of Trade and Invest SVG. And accolade will be the organization, the vehicle through which this platform can be launched. It all started with an idea, a vision, seed has been planted, and it needs the support of all in the creative industry, all major stakeholders for it to grow and to bring benefits to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I thank you.
In all of our efforts today, diaspora is a very important contributor and extended family group of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My understanding is that there are more people outside of St. Vincent, Vincentians outside, than living on the island. I don't know how true that is. That's what I heard. And so we would ask for comments from Giselle John of RID.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning to everyone. The Regional Integration Diaspora Unit is very happy to be part of this very important initiative by Accolade to provide opportunities to promote the arts and to move the creative and cultural industries from St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the region to the international community. We do, and our diaspora groups stand ready and willing to work along with Accolade on any initiative relating to creative arts and culture going forward. As a matter of fact, Mr. Head of Accolade, Mr. Bola Joseph, would have met with Club St. Vincent Inc., one of our most active diaspora groups in New York, and chairperson, Ms. Bola Arthur. She has expressed her willingness to work along with Accolade on any matter relating to creative art, culture going forward. Mr. Joseph also would have been in communication with Ms. Jacqueline Roberts, head of Carnival, the Carnival Group in Hydrocom, only Carnival Group in Hydrocom. And she has submitted an article to be included in the journal also. And up until last week, she has expressed her willingness, and she has been working and marketing the initiative in Hydrocom. So on behalf of the Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit, I wish Accolade every success going forward. And we do embrace this opportunity, and most importantly, the initiative to honor two of our most valued stalwarts, Mr. Frankie McIntosh and Miss Judy Boucher. And we wish Accolade once again every success in our future and decision. And we recognize the importance of work of we do, and we will work together with accolade going forward. We stand ready and willing when called upon. Thank you.
I know the diaspora is always willing, so I think you send home a lot of money. So. I get so. We're now going to have closing remarks, word of thanks from Sinclair Stapleton. Yeah. Replacement? All right.
I don't know if we have any questions from the media. I see several media houses being represented.
You can give us a little preview of what the program might be like on Saturday night. You can give us a little
preview.
Yeah.
A rundown of the program Saturday night.
Okay, it's in three parts. We call the first part the roots, because the main person who producing it, unfortunately, is not here. That is Darky. He hears certain things coming out of Frankie's music that reminds him of the night mornings of long ago and the Carnival Monday of long ago, that kind of music coming out, and he feels that it is from that foundation what we have here. He said he would run it by Frankie first. Right? I don't know whether he's right or wrong. Right? So you have that kind of thing, Mazuma, that sort of thing. And you also have now the serenading, the celebration, and that is where you'll have people like Joanna, Christopher, Little Chris, Bilinji, gospel singer, Manzangi, that sort of thing. And of course, the icing on the cake, you cannot have Frank without Beckett. Right? And they put together, to me, they will even look alike. Right? So Beckett will be the main man in that thing, right? Because, you know, Beckett will be doing a lot of his thing with Frank and so on. Also, you're going to have Frankie accompanying Beckett, and Frankie made a discovery of a group called Theme String Quartet. Frankie will be doing something with them. And there's also Cy Bowman. Frankie will also be doing something with him. So it has been put together in such a way that we find when he's doing all that will be at the end and so on. But these persons have also been doing things individually. That's basically the thing. Okay, so my task is to basically
Just one thing.
Sorry.
For the documentation and the whole magazine aspect of it. The journal.
Oh yes, the journal. Now that has been in the making for some time. Now the original idea was when you come to the show, you'll be handed a journal, which will tell you all about the show and so on. And you'll know who performing and biography and so on. We thought we would not be able to do that last year with Judy Boucher. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that at the time, and we thought, well, we'll do it after. And then, of course, we weren't successful. Then we said we'll merge this one and Judy and have it. But we're sure, now that we're hearing about the sort of support that we're getting and interest being shown, that we'll be able now to put together, add more things, because we have a lot of materials already completed, add more articles and so on, photographs, to the journal, which will be published shortly after the event. And this will be distributed free of cost, not just persons who attended the show, but specifically targeted people in the music industries, in the business and sectors and that sort of thing. So look forward to the journal. Okay? Any other?
Saturday night?
Saturday night, we expect.
Do we get any joint on Saturday night? Is it?
No.
You want to know if you get any joint on Saturday night?
No, unfortunately, no. Okay. All right, my duty is to say thanks. First of all, I want to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Commerce, in particular the Director of Trade, Okolo John Patrick, for making this venue available for us to host this news briefing. I want to thank her, and and she could extend our appreciation for allowing us to use this venue this morning. We want to thank all those present here who presented, including our two giants, Beckett and Frankie, our honoree. We want to thank you for so graciously agreeing to attend this morning's venue and also to participate in our venture. The media, the other speakers, and I must mention, I will do it. I must mention Anthony Tibbles, Felix, and Dunstan. Now, they had absolutely no hesitation when they were asked to be part of this process. And they basically, where it is, where Apple is right now, they are responsible in a very great way in terms of taking the process further. I want to thank them, the three of them. The other speakers, Gary, and the other representatives, Giselle came on board late, but always showing support. Of course, Mr. Pompey from the CSI for hosting, no hesitation again, in terms of, unfortunately, he has explained that when we hold our meetings on Fridays, that is not so convenient, but he always extends his best wish, he extends his best wishes and so on. And he's here this morning, he agreed to host it without hesitation, as I said. The media, thanks so much for coming out. And of course, we look forward to your coverage. And remember the event on Saturday, you are invited. We would have formally invited you, but we again extended that invitation for you to be there on Saturday evening. It begins at 8 o'clock. The venue is the Russell's Auditorium.
The ticket is?
Tickets?
Mainly, they're available mainly at
Music Center.
the Music Center.
Cost?
$75. And there's some invitations that some people have, they're formal invitations, which is, right? And I'll distribute them soon after I finish here. Okay, thanks a lot for, again, for being here.